countdown begins. Today, my 1963 Baldwin L model grand piano that has the most amazing backstory, which I will share with you, is being moved to my new apartment. The catch? It's a second floor walk-up. You don't want to miss this. This piano weighs about 700 pounds, so they are going to take the lid off, take the piano music stand off, and of course the legs off, and reduce the weight. But they have 4 guys to lift the 600 pounds that's left up 3 flights of stairs. Okay, I'm a nervous wreck.
Made it pretty light, the piano.
Okay.
It weighs as much as a baby grand.
Oh, good. Okay, like 4 or 5 minutes.
I'd say it's still a good 5:30.
Oh, wow. Suddenly we have 2 more people. Hello. I didn't even notice. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm just shooting a little video of my move. Yeah, okay, good. And I'll be happy to mention you. What is the name of your company?
Paco's Piano. P-A-C-O-S.
Paco's Piano and Organ Movers. This is in LA area. Anybody?
¿Por qué viene? Ah, pues.
Poquito más, dale. Dale. Y déjalo de la suela. Más. Ok.
No traigo la tira. Dale. 1, 2, 3. Ahí voy, 1, 2, 3, go.
Voy. Que llegue, revienta más.
Ya se soltó.
Para quitarle la... ¿Para quitarle? Porque al levantarlo sientes como que se acaba, pero... Subes como más, ya lo levantamos. Sirve que quede poquito. Ya no la de... ¿Cuánto está? La de retirarlo ahí. 3, 4. ¿Sí? Aquí no tiene más con esto, ahora un poquito más de... Vamos a volver.
Ya.
¿Cuánto te queda?
1, y ya nos vamos. ¿O quieres dárselo así?
No. No, voy a darle. Le voy a dejar.
Oye, con esto nos vamos, Fran. 1, 2, 3.
Póchale.
Vamos.
2, 3, 4, póchale. Ay, también no puedo. Vamos. Hacho, bájalo.
Escúchame.
Ya está en el aire. No es un solo de...
Muy despacito porque están las barrotanas. Ándale. Ahí derechito va a ser.
Vamos, Nacho, ¿no? Déjame voy otro, ¿eh?
Ya se va a españar.
Hay que saber el otro, ¿no? Que te ayude mi
Mejor déjalo subo.
Que te ayude mejor cargado, ¿eh?
Vámonos. Nomás pucharlo.
Tienes que levantarlo más parejo, lo levantas de un lado.
Espérate, sí, es que me resbalé. Ahí voy, 1, 2, 3.
Vamos, 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Ya lo soltamos.
Wow.
Ahí voy.
¿Por qué no pusieron otra cubita ya, Nacho?
Wow.
Así.
Se levanta la
Voy para arriba. 1, 2 y 3. Así es.
Ahí está.
Pues si ocupas más para acá, te regresas un poquito. Ahí está.
Ahí abajo. 1, 2 y 3. Ahí está. Esta es la cobija.
Déjame pongo la entrada, ¿eh? ¿Te lo jalo?
Espérame, no. Ahorita que lo bajo, le van 2 para que vayan a taparlo. Sí, no nos dejan aquí, dale, eso nosotros le cargamos todo.
¿Dónde está?
Vamos a llevar la Fíjate bien. ¿Te pego?
No, está bien.
Done?
Good.
What do you think? I was thinking that.
You want to take a look at that angle in the corner?
Yeah, I was
So you know
just,
you can try it.
yeah, I was thinking if it was a little bit more at the end,
Yeah.
I need to be able to clean it come any more closer than this.
In case you need that.
Yeah, let's do that. That looks a little cramped, actually. Let's take it
Go
back.
back.
Let's split the difference of what you just did. Yeah. I mean, this way, if you're playing here, you can actually look out and see the trees, and so I can put chairs here and sofa over there. It'll be fine.
Right where it's at?
Yeah, and it works, right? You've got it all back
Go ahead and try it
together.
out.
Well, I don't play,
I'm
but
sure you still need to get it tuned and all, but.
I mean, yeah, I don't play, but the pedals are working and everything.
Yep. I tested them already.
Okay, so here's the story, and I hope you stuck around for it. In 1981, about 1981, 82, I was in New York pursuing an acting career, and I was in a theater group that had a space down in Soho. And the head of the group recommended that I start seeing a voice teacher to get my voice down inside. I had no illusions about being a Broadway singer or anything, although I would have loved to have done that. But this was just to get me grounded so I could use my voice when I needed to. She sent me to a man named Silas Ingham. Now, Silas was a Swedish, pretty small man. He was shorter than me, but he was so physically strong. And I got to see that as we got to know each other. I got to know him and his wife very well. I left New York in '88, and before that I had visited him in Staten Island. They had a house since 1951. They were married in 1951, and they had a house with a picture window. It was up on the hill in Staten Island, right above where the ferry was down below. They had a house up on the hill with a picture window that looked up both the Hudson River and the East River. I should say the Hudson and the East River. It was incredible, and it looked right at, I have a photograph in my archives that I took in 1995 when I started this Old Friends photo project. I went out to Staten Island to photograph him in 1995, and I have a picture of he and I standing in front of the World Trade Center in the distance. The piano that's been sitting in my living room since 1999 was his piano that he purchased in 1963. It was a 1963 Baldwin L model that's between a baby grand and a concert grand piano. And that's what he used. He had one at home. He gave voice lessons at home, and he had a Steinway of the same size in his Carnegie Hall studio, which is where I went to take lessons. $15 for a half an hour. You can't get those prices anymore. Anyway, we got very close, and I visited them up in their country house. I saw him hauling these 100-pound sacks of feed for his ducks and whatever up there, and I had talked to him about purchasing the Steinway because when he decided to retire from going up there, because he had to get on the Staten Island Ferry. He had to get to the ferry. He had to get on the Staten Island Ferry, take it to Manhattan, and get on a subway and take it all the way up to Carnegie Hall each day that he went up there to teach lessons. And he was in his 70s, mid-70s, when I met him. So it was probably 94, 95. I had talked to him about buying that Steinway because he was going to stop teaching up there and he wanted to sell it. He was going to charge me, at the time it was worth $25,000, and he was going to charge me half price. Actually, I think it was before I moved out to this house, and I didn't have room for it, and that was a lot of money, and it would have cost, a fair amount to get it here. So I didn't do it. And he sold it to a neighbor. It was a beautiful brown piano, and he used to always keep this this cover made out of corduroy so that if anyone was standing taking a lesson and they happened to put their hand on the piano, no fingerprints. You could never actually touch the piano. It was in beautiful condition. And it was brown, and he sold it to a neighbor, and they painted it black. Anyway, just one night in 1997, fluid filled his lungs, and Gert called the ambulance, and I think he died on the way to the hospital. His lungs just filled up with fluid. He couldn't breathe. He basically drowned. She was beside herself. He was her whole world. My mother is get down to business, and she knew my father was going to die. He had cancer, so she was very well prepared for that eventuality. And the morning, 8:30 in the morning after his funeral, she had his closet completely cleaned out and painted. She was putting the last strokes of paint on his closet at 8:30 in the morning after the funeral. Now contrast that to Gert, who after 2 years had not disturbed a thing. And so I talked to her in 1999 in the spring, and she was really still not great shape. And I said, Gert, all you have to do is get me a price. Just find out what it's worth, the Baldwin. And at the time I had money, and I said, I will bring it out here and keep it. She said she would, but she didn't. And we were in New York for the New York Open, the big tennis tournament in the summer, and I called out to speak to her. This young woman answered, and I said, where's Gert? And she said she passed away. She had a massive heart attack on Cy's birthday. So I said to the girl, where's the piano? And she said, it's still sitting here. She was kind of sitting on the house until the auction. And so she gave me the attorney's office number, and I called down there and I said, what are you asking for the piano? And he said $600. Now I'm assuming that he looked at some blue book value of a 1963 Baldwin, maybe upright or something. But this took no measure of the quality of this piano. And I said, I'll take it. And we went out to Staten Island the next day, and I got the piano stool from the brown piano, which I sold at my estate sale, and I'm kicking myself all the way to the curb about that. Never should have sold that. Everything in their house was from the 1960s. They had all Swedish furniture. It was all from the 1960s, and I would have loved everything, but it was all spoken for. And I got the 2 wicker chairs, which I eventually got rid of, some ashtrays, and a whole bunch of stuff for $600. No, he was going to charge $500 for the piano, and I paid him another $100 for all of that other stuff. Now it cost $1,500 to get it out here. But that was very reasonable considering it was in Staten Island, and I brought it all the way across the country and put it in my living room. Now, there's more to the story. Please hang on, it's so amazing. So when I was there at his house looking at his furnishings and what was going to be auctioned off, we looked in the garage. And he had a, don't remember the year, but it was when the cars were their absolute biggest, with the huge chrome bumpers that went out like cones in the front. Some American-made car, obviously. It was green, like a forest green, with I think a cream-colored top. It was huge, and at the time, this was 1999, and the vintage cars were very popular. A lot of the young starlets and stuff, or the young aspiring actors were driving these vintage cars, you know. And I thought, wow, I would love to have that car, you know, but when I looked into it, it was just going to be cost prohibitive to get it out here and get it in shape for running and all that, and to maintain it. And so I said, well, does it run? And she said, we don't know, we can't find the key. And I said, wow, okay. So then I just forgot about it after that. You know, I said, okay, wrote it off. I'm not gonna have a vintage car, but I'll have the piano. It took a few weeks because they have to wait for a load, and they brought it, they delivered it, they set it up right here, and when they righted it, because it travels on the side, the long side, it travels on a sled, and they strap it to a sled like you saw in this video. And so they brought it in, and when they tilted it down to stand it on its legs, something dropped out from underneath the piano. You know what that was? The car keys to the car. And it was like, oh my God, he wanted me to have that car. Oh, but at that point I had just said, oh well. I actually looked up underneath that piano when I was there, and I saw that he had his family Bible tucked up there. I don't know what happened to that. And this piano means a great deal to me. Both of my sons learned to play piano on it. Anyway, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. And that's why I have to keep it, wherever I go. Some detail I left out. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you about the car. You know, it had those huge chrome bumpers, and to get the garage door closed, he had to carve a cone shape on both front cones into the concrete block wall of his garage so that he could get that cone inside that, like that, and he could get the garage door down. This was a very resourceful guy. I miss him. Thanks so much for watching this channel, liking my videos, and especially sharing them with your friends. I look forward to seeing you in the next installment of Follow My Journey. If you enjoyed this video, please watch these. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'll see you in the next video.